Have you ever felt a chilling suspicion that your world might be less real than it appears? Like a crack in the facade of daily life, there are moments, a weird déjà vu, a strange coincidence, or a sudden sense of disconnection that leave you wondering, am I living in a carefully orchestrated simulation? This question isn't just a sci-fi fantasy anymore. It haunts the corridors of modern philosophy and science. Even tech luminaries have suggested that our existence may be an artificial construct, a matrix beyond our immediate comprehension. But ask yourself, how would you know if your senses and your memories are just fabricated illusions? This isn't a mere conspiracy theory or idle speculation. It cuts straight to the heart of who you are. If your reality is artificially generated, how can you trust your deepest beliefs, your experiences, and your most cherished relationships? If something or someone is pulling the strings, is there any genuine meaning to discover within this elaborate design? Are there signs you can detect, glitches or patterns that betray the synthetic nature of reality? We'll explore the historical and philosophical ideas that gave birth to these unsettling questions, and we'll also draw on real-life research that points toward a universe that might not be as stable or physical as we've always assumed. What if you do find proof that your world is a simulation? What then? Do you try to escape it, like a prisoner stepping out into unknown light? Or do you embrace the illusion for the sake of comfort? In a sense, this question defines the entirety of human existence. Do we remain in the darkness for the sake of security, or risk stepping into the truth, no matter how disorienting it may be? This isn't merely about entertaining a wild idea, it's about you. Because if you are part of a grand design, then your choices, your relationships, even your own reflection in the mirror, might be infinitely more fragile than you ever dared believe. Keep listening, because we're about to unravel ancient mysteries and modern research, gradually shedding light on the biggest question of all. Is your reality truly yours? The implications could shake the foundations of everything you've ever known. One of the earliest recorded explorations into the nature of reality, and whether we might be deceived about it, comes from Plato's allegory of the cave. Imagine prisoners chained inside a cave, forced to watch dancing shadows on the wall. These shadows become their entire reality. They name them, discuss them, create myths around them. Now, suppose one prisoner is freed and steps outside into the blinding sunlight. He discovers the true forms behind those dancing shadows and realizes everything he believed before was just a projection. But when he returns to the cave to tell the others, they think he's crazy. They can't fathom a reality beyond the cave walls. Plato's allegory sets the stage for our modern debate about simulation. If you've spent your life interpreting shadowy projections as reality, how would you respond upon discovering that you're effectively living in a cave? The discomfort, the disbelief, the risk of ostracism. These emotional stakes are just as high now as they were 2,400 years ago. The story suggests that real truth might be shockingly different from what the masses accept, and that stepping into that truth can be both liberating and terrifying. Fast forward to the 17th century, when René Descartes introduced the concept of the evil demon, an omnipotent trickster that orchestrates every sensory experience you have. Maybe what you see, touch, and hear is meticulously fabricated to mislead you. If that's possible, Descartes argued, then you can't be certain of anything except the fact that you are a thinking entity. I think, therefore I am. His method was to strip away every assumption, every piece of knowledge, until only the indubitable remained. That ultimate truth was simply the awareness of one's own consciousness. Descartes' question, what if an all-powerful entity is fooling us about everything, has eerie parallels in the simulation hypothesis. Could advanced beings or an unfathomably powerful A. I feed you a false stream of experiences, effectively controlling your perceived reality. When you snap out of a daydream or notice a glitch in a video game, you might get a fleeting taste of what Descartes was warning about: the unsettling possibility that your experiences and even your memories are not genuine. From Plato's shadows to Descartes' demon, the philosophical foundation is clear. What we call reality might be subject to monumental deception, but neither philosopher left it at that. Both insisted on the importance of stepping beyond comfort to seek genuine insight. For Plato, stepping out of the cave was both enlightening and traumatizing. For Descartes, questioning reality to the core was a route toward discovering an unshakable truth. And this is where we leave a thread hanging. How do we actually test reality? In ancient times, observation and introspection were the key methods. Today, quantum physics and computer science introduce new forms of proof or illusions that challenge the very fabric of what we think we know. If you want to stay comfortable and never look beyond the shadows, feel free to stop here. But if you suspect there might be more, if you feel that itch in your mind that you can't quite scratch, then keep going. We're about to delve into some modern paradoxes and scientific riddles that might just crack open our collective cave and show us the light, or reveal an even deeper darkness. In modern times, we turn to quantum mechanics. It's often hailed as the strangest field of physics, challenging our intuitions about how matter behaves at the smallest scales. Particles can exist in multiple states at once, and two particles can be so entangled that a change in one instantaneously affects the other, even across vast distances. According to some interpretations, particles don't even solidify into a single state until they're observed. If the act of observation can influence the physical state of a particle, it suggests a peculiar link between consciousness and material reality. Certain physicists have gone as far as to hypothesize that consciousness might be a fundamental part of the universe, or that the universe itself may be a participatory phenomenon. One radical extension of this idea is that we live in a digital construct where rendering only occurs when we pay attention, akin to how video game graphics only load when a player's character approaches a new environment. Of course, these quantum effects don't definitively prove a simulation, yet they challenge the assumption that reality is entirely physical and stable. They open the door to the possibility that what we see as solid or real could be, in some sense, generated under certain conditions, just like a computer program only processes areas relevant to the player's immediate viewpoint. Next, we consider information theory, a field that studies the quantification, storage, and communication of information. Some proponents of the simulation hypothesis argue that our universe is fundamentally made up of information, not matter and energy. Indeed, the laws of physics can be expressed in terms of equations and constants, which themselves look suspiciously like the parameters in a simulation's source code. The holographic principle is a related concept, suggesting that the entire three-dimensional universe might be a projection from information stored on a two-dimensional boundary. If the universe is essentially a hologram, then perhaps that data is stored and processed by something akin to a cosmic computer. You might wonder, if we are in a simulation, how would we know? In everyday life, you might notice odd coincidences that feel too orchestrated, or see numbers lining up in improbable ways. Are these glitches, or just confirmation bias? As we become more reliant on technology, some hypothesize that we're more attuned to noticing anomalies in our environment, moments when the matrix supposedly reveals its cracks. One possible glitch people point to is the phenomenon of synchronicities, bizarre coincidences that seem too meaningful to be chance. Psychological studies show that humans are wired to find patterns, so we might be reading too much into randomness. However, it's worth considering the possibility that these coincidences are cosmic Easter eggs, hints planted in the script to provoke curiosity or awaken a new level of consciousness. Before rushing to find an exit, consider the role of your mind. If you've grown up in this so-called simulation, your mental framework is built around its rules and illusions. Even if you suspect reality is false, can you truly handle the alternative? Shattering illusions can be psychologically traumatic, like ripping away your emotional safety net. Moreover, the best exit strategy might not be physically escaping the simulation, assuming that's even possible. It could be learning how to master its code. Think about lucid dreaming. Once you realize you're in a dream, you can manipulate aspects of it. Could the same logic apply if you grasp that your world is simulated? Throughout history, numerous spiritual traditions have talked about Maya, illusion, in Hinduism, or the idea that the physical world is not the ultimate truth in Buddhism. Christian Gnosticism framed the material world as a flawed creation by an imperfect or malevolent demiurge. These beliefs resonate with the simulation concept. Perhaps the simulation hypothesis is just a technological rebranding of an ancient insight. The world you see is not the world as it truly is. Exiting the simulation might be akin to spiritual enlightenment. Think of the parallels in popular culture. A character waking up to a higher truth, discovering abilities that defy the rules of the coded environment. The possibility that we're living in a simulation carries significant societal ramifications. If we discover our reality is artificial, does that undermine morality? Does anything matter if it's all code? Or do we have an even greater moral obligation, akin to characters in a story who must act with integrity despite knowing they're in a narrative? On another level, consider the existential dread. If we're simulated entities, are we disposable? Could the simulation be turned off at any moment? As scientists explore large-scale experiments that might detect anomalies in physical laws, some worry that verifying the simulation's existence could risk crashing the system. If your universe can be unplugged, how do you live with that knowledge? We've touched on quantum oddities, synchronicities, and theoretical physics, pointing to a universe constructed from data. Each idea hints that our world might be more ephemeral than it appears. But in trying to answer the riddle of whether we're in a simulation, we open another. Even if we are, so what? Does that rob your life of meaning, or does it grant you a thrilling sense of possibility? You might think you've been given a partial answer, that reality is uncertain, possibly digital, but there is a deeper emotional and psychological toll we haven't addressed yet. Are you ready to confront the notion that every life milestone, every love you've felt, might be a series of coded events? Are you prepared to question the authenticity of your own emotions, or even your own self? Look into your own life for a moment. Think of your most treasured memories, childhood escapades, family gatherings, the day you fell in love. They feel real. They shaped you. Now imagine that each memory could have been implanted, carefully programmed to give you a backstory, a motivation, a personality. How does that make you feel? Does it anger you? Does it unmoor you? Does it set you free? We're at a point where the conversation stops being abstract and becomes intensely personal. Because if your reality is digitally or metaphysically engineered, then who are you within that code? A software subroutine? A character in a cosmic video game? Or are you still you, a genuine consciousness, experiencing the illusions, but capable of transcending them? Here's the real gut punch. If everything is code, does that mean your pain is less valid? When you felt heartbreak, loss, or even physical agony, was that just zeros and ones? Could it be that the cause of your greatest suffering is something that, in a literal sense, doesn't exist outside the lines of a program? This is where many people shut down. It's easier to dismiss the simulation hypothesis than to process the emotional ramifications. We cling to the idea that Simulation or not, my emotions are real to me. But consider the possibility that the entire system is designed to keep you invested. Your sadness, your joy, your curiosity, your relationships might be the battery that powers it. Your emotional engagement could be the reason the simulation persists. Perhaps you pride yourself on being rational, science-oriented, or even spiritual and open-minded. But are you truly prepared to handle the possibility that your life narrative might be a storyline in a grand experiment? If a cosmic game master or advanced AI is pulling the strings, do you yearn to meet them, or would you rather never know? Some people cling to the comfort of routine. Wake up, go to work, eat, sleep, never questioning the deeper structure. Others feel a gnawing dissatisfaction, an unnameable restlessness that drives them to explore beyond the boundaries. Which group do you belong to? And if you discover that these boundaries you've been pushing against are just lines of code, does that excite you or terrify you? Even if you somehow confirm your world is artificial, the question of why remains. Is it a test? A form of entertainment for higher beings? A creative experiment? Or the natural evolution of advanced AIs exploring consciousness? Each scenario carries its own emotional weight. If it's a test, that suggests a moral framework. If it's entertainment, that raises the idea of cosmic voyeurism. If it's purely experimental, your deepest struggles might be mere data points. If it's an AI exploration, then your sense of self might be part of an algorithmic quest to understand consciousness. How do you keep going? The answer might lie in recognizing that your lived experience still matters. Whether coded or not, you feel love, aspiration, empathy, longing. These experiences shape your consciousness, simulated or otherwise. If there is a you capable of reflection, wonder, and choice, then that might be your key to transcendence. By now, you've been confronted with the idea that your entire life could be a construct, that your pain and joy might be artificially induced, and that your moral framework could be up for grabs if it's all just bits of data. Yet you and I both know there's more to unpack. If you step away now, you'll be left with a half-formed question echoing in the back of your mind. You'll never fully see what might be behind the next door. So stay with me, because we're about to bring a level of closure, or at least a vantage point that answers key questions about meaning and personal agency. Take a deep breath. We've journeyed through ancient allegories, modern physics, and existential dread, all to confront the idea that you may live in a reality that's not what it seems. Here's a form of resolution. Even if your reality is simulated, it matters because you are here, experiencing it. Consciousness, your consciousness, is the ultimate currency. Think of it as the lens through which the simulation gains meaning. Without your ability to perceive, to feel, to question, the entire facade would be pointless. That means you hold power. Your awareness can shape how you engage with this constructed world. You can rebel, you can create, you can cooperate, or you can search for an exit. The choice is yours, and paradoxically, that is your free will, even within a system that might be governed by code. Remember the earlier questions. How do we spot glitches? And what do we do if we find proof? We now see the answer isn't just about leaving the simulation. It's about deciding how you live with that knowledge. Do you become nihilistic, or do you harness this realization to live more boldly and compassionately? Ultimately, the emotional stake is clear. You are the bridge between a potential artificial design and genuine meaning. That's the final puzzle piece. If your consciousness confers meaning onto an otherwise fake environment, then your life has purpose. Period. Right now, I want you to cement your understanding. If you've followed this journey to its heart, comment below with this phrase: I am the light in the cave. By leaving these words, you're demonstrating that you've absorbed not just the concepts, but the emotional weight of this discussion. You're also showing the community that you're part of a growing number of people who dare to ask the big questions. Let's see who else is ready to confront the unthinkable truth. Take one last moment to reflect. The journey we've been on is not a neat, closed loop of revelation. It's a doorway to ongoing curiosity. If this conversation has awakened something in you, a spark that refuses to go out, then you already know there's more to explore. Maybe you'll dive deeper into quantum theories or read up on the next big ideas in simulation research. Maybe you'll just pause the next time you notice a coincidence or a gut feeling that the world around you is more malleable than you'd ever imagined. Here's the reality. Even if the code is pre-written, your role in it isn't predetermined. You are still the protagonist of your own story. By confronting these monumental questions, you've taken a significant step out of the cave and into the light, whatever form that light may take. And if you don't want to make this the last step, if you're hungry for more debates, more mind-bending explorations, or more radical questions that challenge your worldview, then subscribe to this channel right now. Don't wait for the next time. Seize this moment of awakened curiosity. Subscribing is effortless, but the payoff could be massive. A continued deep dive into the mysteries of life, consciousness, and beyond. If today's message resonated with you, subscribe now, because what comes next will challenge you even further. I'll see you soon on the next step of this journey.